that was sort of in and out for me. Hi, welcome to the S.E. Collins show. I have Quaid is over there in virtual space, and Reed is. No, I'm getting this. The pointing is just not. I have to learn to point better. Welcome to the S.E. Collins show. If you have something that you would like to have us explore, I welcome you to hit the. Is there a link in the chat yet?
Yes.
Good.
There should be a link pinned in the chat on YouTube, at least.
Okay, good. Good. How do I see?
I'll put it in the chat as well for everywhere else.
That chat. Okay, this is not at all well set up for me. So I want to. Hello, Rosemary. I want to. Well, all the regular show, and then I thought I'd like to also talk to people about the last time they learned they were wrong about a thing. In one sense, that's as easy as I learned a new thing that I didn't know before, because as long as I'm not holding on to what I have in mind firmly, then that's all sorts of new. For me, I have a real simple example. I did not think that vitamins had very much to do with immune. And I have learned recently through a series of studies that vitamin D deficiency has a significant effect on autoimmune disorders. So cool. Now I know. And how that makes a wrongness or a difference is that tells me that getting out in the sun, doing my walks during the day as opposed to in the evening, has a positive effect and is not all just a cost of I don't like going out when it's sweaty. So like that, learned a new thing. Anybody else?
Yeah, the closest that I can think of off the top of my head is I was having a discussion with my class about the use of I in college essays. And you'll find some sources that say that you shouldn't do it, but there are other credible sources that say it depends on the context. And I was already of the position that it was based on context, but I was wrong about one of the ideas I had about the context. Like, you really want to avoid doing anything that will make it sound like you are evading criticism. So like, I believe X, or I'm of the opinion of this.
Is that a good or a bad practice? I am of the opinion of, or tell me about this context. What is the context where if I say I something that I might be deflecting criticism?
So if you say I'm of the opinion of something, and then someone criticizes your argument, you can say, well, that's just my opinion. So the idea is that there are certain terms where if you start to criticize that claim, the person will withdraw into listening to the criticism. And so there are certain terms that you want to avoid the use of I in those situations. And a lot of times it's also just evident that it's your opinion. Like, it should be evident from the context in which you are giving the information that it was actually your opinion on something anyway. So just also where you don't need to use it, I guess, is really it doesn't need to be said as much. But if there's some research that you did, obviously you want to let the reader know that you did the research, which may warrant the use of I.
I would hope. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Letting them know what's your argument versus somebody else's argument that you're using. So there are reasons to do it. And I didn't know about the in my opinion, or I think I believe was the big one. Yeah, that I would have thought would have been more okay, but now that I know it's not. Or
I have a particular hot button, a pet peeve. When people say I feel when they mean I think.
Yeah.
In my experience, when somebody starts with an I feel, they are signaling that they would not be that they would not welcome any feedback, any questioning on the subject. Whereas with I think, that usually does welcome feedback. And when I look at it for like, what the actual words mean, well, I think I feel is a synonym of I think in my culture. So it's obviously my own pet peeve.
You thought of
Hello,
anything
Gina.
yet, Reed?
Hello, Rosemary. Go ahead.
I was just wondering if Reed had thought of anything yet.
Still thinking. I guess one minor one is I went on a reverse Q&A tour, like in the last 90 days or so. And before I went, I made a bunch of predictions. And I think I overestimated the risk of potential, property damage to my equipment, or even just merely raised voices at the events. I think everything was more cordial and chilled, and at least at the events themselves, than I predicted. So I was wrong about that.
Nice. Much more peaceful than you had predicted. That's a really good learn.
Yeah.
Peace is always a good thing.
Yeah.
Do Gina, Rosemary, or any of the other panel? Well, and I suppose there's more other people watching. I see that there's more people watching. I just haven't seen the comment. I welcome anybody to call in, especially if you are willing to tell us about a thing that you've learned, a way that you've learned that you're wrong about something, or maybe you even have a claim for us to epistemologize. I don't know, is that an acceptable term? Epistemologize, make a verb out of it.
I don't know.
Verbing weirds language, so says Calvin and Hobbes. Thinking, good. Dead air feels weird, so let me find something to talk about till somebody jumps in. Initially, Reed, how likely did you expect? Well, there's two real questions. One, actual violence, damage, something like that, sabotage. The other one was what, raised voices or out of control social conflict. I don't know. What did you expect?
I don't really remember. I assume it was, for property damage, no more than like 50% probably. And raised voices probably 80%, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
And neither of those happened. So I was way
Really?
off.
I thought I saw a video with, maybe that wasn't part of this set, where somebody was yelling "fuck you" from the top of the building, and then they came down, had a real.
Yeah, what percentage of the footage do you have that's similar to what's going on?
Yeah, that wasn't. I'm not counting that as part of the original prediction, criteria, because it was like at inside buildings where, student groups hosted the events and everything was more formal there. But that was just outside on a campus. But maybe I should include that as part of it. I don't know.
Well, equipment was there, and there was certainly an opportunity, but whatever risk. I suppose I'm perfectly willing to risk somebody yelling at me. That doesn't scare me very much. Now, if they're yelling at me and they have a badge, that's a different question.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, that is.
I'm not willing to risk badge people yelling at me. That's just not go there.
Did you end up having any damage to equipment? Did you say?
My fault. I did, because of
Okay.
not putting it well in the in the case and just, airline damage getting from one place to another.
Oh yeah, that's a real thing. I used to work in an airport. People are not nice to objects.
No.
On the ramp.
Yeah. I look forward to reviewing Nathan's chat with the Mormons next Tuesday. That'll be fun. That was a fun day.
Indeed.
I know Mark wanted to talk with him really bad, and he at least got to do a little bit of the outsider test at the end there.
Yeah, I saw a little bit of a chomping at the bit going on when I watched that video. That was great stuff. I enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to seeing the review.
Yeah.
You were talking about feelings and thinking earlier. I think that's like one of the central things they teach you to differentiate in nonviolent communication. Is thinking and feeling. Don't say that you feel something when you're actually thinking it, because it kind of confuses. It might confuse what you're actually feeling.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Feeling is different than thinking, and what you do when you have a feeling should be different, and I guess in some situations, than when you're thinking something.
Yeah, and ideally, you're taking both into account.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you want to be aware of both. But how thinking is, I guess, a matter of the idea behind NVC is that if you're feeling something, there's a need that's not being met. And so that's really where you want to shift gears. You don't want to get your thinking and your feeling confused, because if you're feeling something, you want to start thinking about what you're lacking that you need and try to solve that problem. So I think that's where you actually want to be careful about using those synonymously.
Have y'all seen my flying man template? Doug's flying man, but I made a Miro template about it. I'd love to see you two do it.
Okay. Show it to me. Well, I think I'll be able to see it on this screen well enough. Yes.
I'll share my tab with it, but you two both click on that Miro link in the private chat.
Oh.
Quaid can be person 1 and Dolly can be person 2.
Okay.
Oh, give me a second then, because I gotta pull it up.
Reed, could you copy that to another chat? I can't get to it through this interface.
Okay. I'll DM you on to Discord.
Okay, thank you.
How do I smaller it?
It's best if you use the bottom left, open the sidebar and just click on the frames. So let me explain how to do it. I guess I'll work on the, I'm asking for your confidence level based on evidence for different claims. So the first piece of evidence is one first person eyewitness testimony, just one of them. And then I'll ask you for your confidence for this claim. A man on a motorcycle drove really fast and flew across the Grand Canyon. So if all you had was just one first person eyewitness testimony, where would your confidence be? And then another claim is a man was abducted by an alien near the Grand Canyon. And then a man flew across the Grand Canyon unaided. And then a man was resurrected bodily from the dead. So
Interesting.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so person one that you equate.
So this is the man on a motorcycle?
Yeah, a man on a motorcycle drove really fast and flew across the Grand Canyon.
And just one person said that they saw that?
Yeah, we have one first person eyewitness testimony. Someone alive.
Mm-hmm.
I think. Is that
Okay. I guess
we can change the quality of it. Should it be a dead person or an alive person?
a dead person or a live person?
Yeah, should it just be
it depends on what you're analogizing.
Maybe a piece of paper saying it.
Record of a first person testimony as opposed to the direct first person testimony. Gotcha.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, is the witness alive or dead? So we're starting with that there's one witness, but that witness is dead.
I think that's a good idea to do.
Okay.
And then also my guess is we're supposed to disregard any information we actually have about the claim. So if this was all the information we had, like if we know that there's somebody that did drive a motorcycle across the Grand Canyon, or if we could even because I feel like the Grand Canyon is smaller at different parts.
Yeah. I have several questions before I can establish a confidence. Like the first one I want to do is, can I build this in a physical model as I understand the world without getting into something? So how wide is the Grand Canyon at the point where they jumped it? If you go to the headwaters, is it 10 meters across the water? Then yes, you can fly 10 meters on a motorcycle without me rejecting it for physical implausibility. Now, how fast? If I get up to freeway speed and I were going straight up, I'll go up 45 meters. So if we're talking something less than 100 meters, yes, I think that's practical. But if 1,000 meters, I don't think that's practical unless you were in a highly streamlined aero vehicle of some sort. So I'm going to start with P is false if I use Grand Canyon in the colloquial sense, which is to say multiple kilometers across. I'm about 3 sigma against. So 1 part in 250, 1 part in 300, something like that. That's obviously way over there on the edge of the scale.
Yeah, I'll say around 228 feet was the jump.
Okay, now we're back into physical plausibility, and so now I'm going to say I am 1 sigma against.
Is that around here?
Yeah, it's 1/3, 2/3. So it's about between your orange and red. But I needn't be too picky about where that is. I'm speaking in very round numbers.
Okay. What about you, Quaid?
I'm actually going to be maybe right on the line of B. I don't believe P isn't true, and I believe P is true. I'm gonna be on the other side of the scale.
Okay.
Yeah, if one person has said I will just take I'm willing to take for granted that there are different lengths of the Grand Canyon, and what you're calling a chasm of the Grand Canyon is pretty open to interpretation. So if you say that you saw someone build a ramp and fly it across, I'm willing to be right on the kind of border of belief there. Yeah, if it was a specific footage, yeah, that would be different. You did say that.
Yeah. Yeah, I find that physically plausible. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm false on it is I should expect to have more than one report. I should expect to have seen this in my news feed or have it be remarkable. Therefore, a single written record leads me actually on the other side. But that's just how I think about it. Not that I have very much confidence in my confidence-making method.
Try to imagine the evidence is the only thing you have, even though I do have my own memory of seeing this happen. On
Oh,
TV.
okay. So I'm not assuming,
I was
I'm not
wondering
knowing
originally.
whether or not there are other reports.
I think we should imagine we don't know anything
Okay.
around what actually happened. And
Okay, in that case,
go with
I'm
the
right in the
evidence.
middle. Just stick me 50-50 if I don't have any other, because now I don't have a reason to think that there are not other reports.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was wondering originally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I am nudged anything into the positive, it's infinitesimal. I need more than this to even take it seriously.
Yeah, if you're talking about 228 feet across, I might be somewhere closer to the middle too. Yeah, specifically that. But again, I just, as long as the Grand Canyon's been around and there have been motorcycles and, given people's propensity for thrill, I'm sure somebody has found some type of gap that you could call the Grand Canyon that is maybe easier to get across. And
By the way, my confidence that somebody has tried it is higher than my confidence that somebody succeeded.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's go to the next one. A man was abducted by an alien near the Grand Canyon. Just one written piece of testimony.
Okay. What's alien mean?
Extraterrestrial intelligent life.
Okay. Yeah, I'm 3 sigma against. Oh wait, but I don't know any other things. Wait. Because I was using my balance of, I have lots and lots of bad reports and no good reports of extraterrestrial aliens, but don't take that into account. I'm back to neutral.
And I would be in.
Know whether or not this is a common thing.
Yeah, so this was a claim that was made. A man was abducted by an. Yeah, I would be in the believe. Wait. I would.
Yeah, I'm going to believe
not
slightly.
believing that it's true. This was where I would be. So near to where I am already.
Yeah, I think this comes down to the question of a Bayesian prior. I have a strong Bayesian prior against this, but if I ignore that Bayesian prior, I'm at 50-50.
Yeah, I don't think we should ignore the prior. Why are we ignoring the prior?
Because you said I don't know anything.
Then that's probably not a good idea to recommend people.
Okay.
So, should I say anything that is you think is true in your background knowledge should apply to where your default confidence is? Yeah, right.
I think so.
Maybe we should start at your default confidence and then add this one piece of evidence.
Excellent. Excellent. Happy to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go back a second. With your background knowledge, where would you be for the motorcycle?
3 sigma against.
I would still have to be agnostic because I don't.
Okay. And if you added this one additional written record of a first person eyewitness testimony, same place or different?
Oh, yeah, I might be just. So this is not believing that it isn't true. I think the issue that I had here last time with the scale is that I feel like you can be both of those. You can not believe that something is true and also not believe that it isn't true. I guess that would put you in the middle, right? I'd still be pretty. I'd still be pretty close in the middle. Actually, that's not. Yeah, I'd still be in the middle on that one.
All right. And that additional piece of evidence for you, Dolly, are you staying around where you are?
Yeah. This single piece of evidence moves me, and it does move me, but it moves me insignificantly.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So now, what's your default Bayesian prior for this claim? A man was abducted by an alien near the Grand Canyon.
4 sigma against.
Where is that? Here?
Very close to close to the edge without touching it.
And this was with prior knowledge? you were saying, right?
Yeah, your Bayesian prior.
Yeah. Our Bayesian prior with everything we know today, real. Yeah.
I am still compelled to say, like, I'm agnostic about it, but I don't know exactly why. I think it's just the idea that, like, let's see, like, what information do I have that hasn't happened? It's like an awkward thing for me to think about.
Yeah, is the odds if someone says this, is the
Oh
odds
yeah,
50-50?
Bayesian. Yeah. Man, I don't know. I probably still would be somewhere like not believing it is true. Probably, yeah. Not believing it is true. Wait, no, yeah, I would, and that's, I guess, the other issue too is, like, I'll have to think of the way to describe what I'm trying to say, but I'm in not believing that it is true is where I'm at right now.
The orange
Yes.
in the middle, or where?
Just put me in the middle for now.
Okay. And if you add the additional written record of a first-person eyewitness testimony that someone was abducted by an alien,
Oh yeah.
do you move?
No, I actually think that's where I am with the witness testimony. So I might be I might be more on the border of believing it's not true and not believing it is true. But with that one witness testimony, I'm somewhere in the middle.
Okay, you moved from like here to here.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty big leap. So probably not. Probably just like a smidge more to the right of that center line there. No. So the center of the red and the orange.
Okay.
And
Right
just
there.
a smidge. Yeah, just a smidge to the right there. That's actually where I am. Yeah.
All right.
It's something like that.
Did you move at all, Dolly?
In this case, my prior knowledge includes that these kinds of claims are common, so it moves me infinitesimally.
Yeah. All right. Next up, a man flew across the Grand
Daniel's
Canyon.
ahead of us. He's providing facts you haven't gotten to yet. Thank you,
yeah,
Dan.
we can add more facts for the next row. Where are you now? What is the Bayesian prior for this?
Five sigma against, because it violates understood physics if I understand this Grand Canyon to be at least the 200 something, because unaided means with human power, no machinery, not a catapult or a trebuchet or something like that. And now it violates physics as I understand them.
All right.
Is this the, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's probably where I am too. A man flew across the Grand Canyon unaided. Yeah. I mean,
Daniel says we're nicer than Doug.
Unaided.
Okay, I accept and appreciate that.
Yep.
All right. Now, this claim: a man was resurrected bodily from the dead.
I'm going to assume he means supernaturally here, and we're not like playing loose with resurrection.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I believe this is true if I include what I see in medical science.
Right.
And maybe that's pushing on what resurrected means or something like that.
Right.
Some people push into swoon theory or all sorts of things. If I say doctors have taken people that were apparently and thought dead and made them alive again, I believe that is true. 30 hours later, after the very apparent evidence of like stick in the side and separated liquids come out and they tested and really dead, that goes against my understanding of physics. So I'm back to the 5 sigma against.
Yeah, I would say
It
I
depends on
believe.
what the words mean, of course, just like Grand Canyon.
Yeah, I think we're in the same spot. Believe that it's not true with resurrected, meaning what a lot of people would take it to actually mean.
Yeah. Equivalent to Jesus' resurrection, that type of resurrection.
Right. Yeah, and then
Sure.
on the first one too, I thought that Evil Knievel, or I guess his father, had jumped over Robbie, and or his father. They both did the Grand Canyon jump, and I thought that was true, which I guess we would include that information. But I wasn't sure that it was true, so I said no, because I couldn't remember if it was Evil Knievel or if it was something else, and it wasn't the Grand Canyon that he jumped over, but I had heard that he did do
My
it,
memory was that it was the Snake River Canyon,
and that it
and I
wasn't
don't know
the
where
Grand
that
Canyon.
is, and that his attempt failed.
Okay.
That he pulled a parachute and landed in the middle of the canyon somewhere, and apparently didn't kill himself. My memory is not very good.
But not the
I
Grand
haven't even
Canyon.
looked
Is
this
that
up on Wikipedia, so you shouldn't have any confidence in what I'm saying.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought I had heard it. I guess that's, and to me, it's just like with that kind of I thought I heard stuff. It's like I have to give the level of confidence that I did.
All right. So want to go to the next row? So basically, I have a whole bunch of
Yes, please.
rows. In each row, we can add a new piece of evidence and a quantity for it. What evidence should we add to make this more interesting? Should we add, well, what is the evidence for the resurrection? This is the analogy we're trying to do. What is, should we just do the same as this and just add quantity, or should we add a different kind of quality of evidence?
I mean, quality is more likely to move me, I feel like, than quantity of observer. This is a quantity of observers. Oh no, this is okay. I see now. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
I think we should start with quality, probably.
Should we do like a living person alive giving the testimony now?
Sure. What is the next step in this process? Like in your mind, what's the next level of quality of evidence when we're having this conversation that you can think of?
When it's usually like multiplying this by 4 with the Gospels, right?
Sure. Independent testimonies are
or
the
maybe
issue.
like 12 disciples.
Yeah.
What is
I've seen news. I've seen a bunch of news come out today that misquoted a thing, and I've got a dozen independent news sources that are all reading me the wrong news.
Yep.
So independence is an issue. I'm happy to fill in the news, but I don't want to change the subject.
So let's just go really far. Living first person eyewitness testimony times 2.
Okay.
This will be interesting. If we had that.
Do these people have a prior relationship, and have they compared notes yet? If there's a car accident, the very first thing the police do is separate everybody and then ask them all separate questions. So independence. If it's 2 people
we'll say truly independent.
Okay,
yeah.
Nice.
At face value, I would move up just a little bit from where I am now into like the yellow.
Yeah,
like right at the edge of yellow. No, on the left side. So I would still be in the not believing it is true. Just them seeing it. I think actually, oddly enough, I might be more convinced if they said that, like, if they actually gave a source or something.
And this is that just, drove really fast and flew across the Grand Canyon on a motorcycle claim.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And our second source is Daniel, who says Robbie jumped the Grand Canyon. And I think Daniel's seeing that on historical references and wasn't a live witness.
Okay. So where are you now, Dolly, with this additional evidence? two living
If I am
people.
compelled that the two are in fact independent, to a high degree, I'm at 1 sigma positive, so up near the top of the yellow. Yeah, somewhere in there.
Okay.
Again,
Next
this
up.
is something that my prior doesn't say is physically impossible. It's just scary and dangerous, maybe.
Yeah, I'm gonna reset to where you are for the other one. All right, so now what about this claim? A man was abducted by an alien near the Grand Canyon. If you had two independent living eyewitnesses.
I'm like
I'm willing to move up. Go ahead, you first.
Like barely to the right, like barely. Yeah, like pixels probably.
Okay. I'm moving about halfway between me and him, middle of the red.
All right.
I'm
So
down
interesting.
to only 2 sigma against. And this is all assuming that I am firmly and fully convinced of the independence of these witnesses.
Okay. Next, a man flew across the Grand Canyon unaided. Both of you were at the edge. What does this evidence do?
Yeah, mine's still going to be like pixels to the right.
Okay.
Same. Almost insignificant.
Yeah.
I'm at this point I'm David Huming the thing, because the chance that the people were mistaken or lying is so much greater than the chance that physical reality was violated.
All right. And same for man was resurrected probably from the dead. Any movement?
Yeah, same. I guess it's interesting that all for the last 3 claims I make the same movement.
Yeah, it's the same for me, because as I understand the claim, it violates physics. So that's why
And aliens wouldn't violate physics, right? Like
aliens don't violate physics. That's
right,
why
so
I have no problem with aliens.
yeah, so it seems like maybe that should have been weighted more. For whatever reason, right now it's not weighted in my mind anymore. Though I think maybe it makes an impact once the evidence becomes such, then you'll see a difference in the way that I move on the 3 claims, depending on how big the evidence is.
Okay. Now let's figure out what piece of evidence, if you added to it, would get you both on the right side of this alien claim. What would need to be another piece of evidence?
If we found out they were aliens, that would be a big one. That's like one of the especially, I guess, intelligent aliens that we know could abduct people. It would have to be aliens that exist. Actually, aliens existing at all would be pretty big. That wouldn't get me on the other side, though, I don't think.
Can you abstract that quality of evidence? What does that mean? Physical evidence?
I would say the ability to objectively examine and predict things about those aliens. It's a predictive power question. Can you see the evidence? Can a new objective observer go see these aliens and understand anything about them?
Objective video evidence?
I know what it is here for me, and it really would be a body of like people who have devoted their life to studying that thing, saying that they're seeing it. And I know their epistemology, and I think that their epistemology is a good way to derive what's true. Like if I can study not all the facts of that field, but how that field works, and I have I think that their method for deriving truth is reliable, and all of them are saying that they know of aliens, that they've examined aliens, that they're using, components of empiricism and verificationism and rationalism, if they're saying it, then that actually might be the point where, because I don't know, I imagine it might actually be the case where if we do come into contact with aliens, like I feel like maybe there's more of a chance that only some people are going to be able to like go to where they are. I guess it doesn't have to be that way. Like, what are the odds if we come in as a species, if we come into contact with aliens, that all of us are going to be able to see the aliens like in person and examine them, not just like in video?
I would accept that NASA sends one probe that meets them, shows me pictures.
Right.
That would lead me into the I'm on the positive side of the scale. For me, aliens are not implausible, and a man was abducted part is a trivial claim once aliens exist for me. The abduction, okay, they interacted with us this way and they looked at me funny. Sure. But
so the video is not enough
of observers. No, a straight video is by itself not enough.
It's who's releasing the video and what we think their motives are and how they analyze information and come to conclusions.
Video is trivial to fake, and people make their money and make their living at it.
So what should we add here for the evidence we're adding?
Qualified experts with good epistemology.
Yeah, giving testimony or giving video. Yeah, giving evidence. Like they're the ones providing some sort of either experiential evidence or tangible, like video evidence.
Is this like, if we just do this times 1,000, does that mean just consensus pretty much? Or like percent of the experts?
Yeah, it'd have to be like
I'm sure I can come up with 1,000 people to deny climate science. So the quantity is not there. So, yeah, okay, there you go. So if 2 sigma of the experts agree, then I'm strongly moved. Sure.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I am too.
All right, we'll try that. If we had that for this claim, a man on a motorcycle drove really fast, where would you be?
I'm almost all the way to the right. I'm not 100% obviously, but wait, what was the? It was 99%.
I'm 3 sigma. I'm 2 or 3 sigma positive on this one. If you give me an expert's consensus whose epistemology I respect, I'd probably go to 3 in that case.
Where's that?
About where you have it. Very near touching. Yeah. It's 1 part in 250, 350, something like that.
Okay. So now, where are you for this claim?
It's actually the same for me.
Yeah, I would, because to me you've demonstrated aliens, and aliens are not implausible. So good.
All right, great. This claim.
Now I'm at 1 sigma against, and very suspicious and trying to figure out what the heck, because I need to reboot my understanding of physics, which I'm very willing to do.
Yeah, I'm
Werner Heisenberg did it. I can do it too.
Where's that? Is that here?
Yeah, about that.
Yeah, about here.
Yeah, and we didn't talk about this before, but now I have to, like, now I'm thinking about what type of expert is saying this. So I guess that now starts to become the question to me. Like, if I don't know, a sociologist or even like a chemist might be saying this, I'd be like, how is their expertise relevant to the components of this question? And maybe chemistry could be in a way that I couldn't think, so I would be listening to everybody. But now if 99% of physicists agree, now I'm actually starting to be convinced in some way. Like, now I am maybe somewhere in the believe it's true. I can't say where, because like it's hard for me to understand. But if 99% of physicists, especially if it's multiple fields, if like 99% of physicists and maybe even historians are saying that it's true, then I'm going to start to figure that I'm missing something. That there's
You know what would really, really kick it over for me? If an engineer agreed that it happened and then was able to replicate it.
Yeah.
We can add that text maybe. When we add physicists to that qualifier of the kind of expert, does that do anything to you?
Yeah.
I think you already, yeah, okay. Now for this one, where are you?
I think it's the same as before.
Same.
I'm still going to be
one sigma against, because I need to reteach myself a new paradigm. And I'm willing to do that.
Yeah, and I don't get that far, so I'm a little bit lazy here in that like, even if I don't understand something, if I can examine the epistemology of somebody and I trust that epistemology, I will take it for granted to some degree, even not understanding it myself. So I will still have some belief in it, though if it's counterintuitive to what I understand the general consensus is in that field, then it's hard for me to believe to a high degree, because I don't know. Because I know that there's more to learn there.
All right, so what evidence would cause both of you to move into the green next? Is it like a replication type thing?
Demonstration,
What's the minimum demonstration?
I would be in the believe at this point. I would be in believe before that even happened. I would be in the green. If they like brought me a dead body and they did it, that would move me further into believing. That would give me a higher degree of belief. But I think kind of incorporating it into kind of common knowledge, like in textbooks and stuff, where you can read about it and they can explain how it happened. And I know that there's information out there explaining how it happened. That's what starts to really move me into a higher level of belief, when I know the information is out there and ready and accessible for me to learn.
Okay. So what evidence should we add for the next row?
Yeah, replication, exactly. Repeatable experiment. Times 5? Oh, yeah. Yeah.
How about that?
Sure.
Repeated
experiment that, I mean, I'm calling it that replicates the results, but that's probably just words I'm adding for no purpose.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Where were we here?
Hello, Peter W.
All the way over to the right for this, for flying across Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
Man being abducted by an alien, if that was replicated 5 times.
Oh, sure.
Where all the way over
with
here.
all the private caveats that I trust the
right
epistemology of the people bringing it to me.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. And that's where I am too.
Because I'm sure we could get a whole bunch of people to say they replicated an experiment. That would be would be just a question of logistics.
And like, I don't know how many times were the psychological experiments replicated before they had that big, huge issue replicating experiments, where they just replicated one time? That's something I don't know. But I can't.
You're talking about the current replication crisis?
Right. And my guess is it wasn't like just the second time that they replicated all those experiments. That's my guess, but I don't know.
The majority of the experiments had not been attempted a second
to be
time.
replicated. Okay, so that was the second
time they had not made an attempt in the majority. Now that doesn't mean, that's only more than half, and then more than half of them have failed.
Right.
Over a couple of decades.
This is interesting. For this claim, if we had 5 repeated experiments,
a man flew across unaided. Yeah.
Yeah, if you can demonstrate it 5 times and and I believe and qualify the people who are relaying the demonstration, or I'm able to go there myself. Do I trust me? I'm not sure I do. To see through an illusion, but still, if I trust that the illusions have been thrown out, I'm 3 sigma in favor.
And now I think there's some hypocrisy here with me, because I think this claim, between this claim and the next claim, both are really doing things that defy what seem like the laws of this universe, in terms of like the laws of like thermodynamics and the laws of physics, or other laws of physics. And I said what would make me like higher, what would make me more confident that it's true for someone being resurrected, was the knowledge being available. And so, but I know the time before this, I was really high on this one, but I wasn't thinking about the fact that really what I want to be really high is not what I want to have a really high degree of confidence in something isn't just that most experts agree in it, but actually that I know that the knowledge to learn it myself is accessible in some way. That seems to have some like impact on how I rank it. So I think probably for this one, 99% consensus and being replicated 5 times, I might be somewhere in the 90 range. I might actually be in somewhere in the 90 range now, because I want that last component of knowing I can learn it myself. I think that is something for me. Or knowing that it's relevant or it's available.
This would be a lot like when I learned that if a person drowns in icy water, they've got like an extra 90 minutes. And so if medical something with the magic lovely of the chemistry and the physics can figure out a way to stop the body degrading, well, then yeah, you can have that extra 90 minutes. Maybe you can even stretch that to another 30 hours. So it's not like we broke the speed of light.
That's a good point.
We learned a cool thing in biophysics.
Would you say, Dolly, that what was the claim to the left here? This is the third claim, right? This is the fourth claim that we're looking at right now, and this is the third claim?
This is the third claim.
Right.
Flying across the Grand Canyon.
So this, Dolly, would you say that this one is actually like less believable just on the face of the claim than the fourth one? Okay, yeah, I think so too.
Yes, because I have to break more physics. I need a much larger question answered. You know, how did that physically possibly happen?
Yeah, I agree with that.
So where are you, Dolly, for the bodily resurrection?
In both cases, given demonstration that fits all of my requirements and qualifications, I'm 3 sigma positive.
So that's near certainty.
It's as close to certain as I'm going to get with stuff that's like reported all over the place. I'm 3 sigma positive that the Allies won the World War II. I find it entirely plausible that I might be quite misinformed.
All right, so that was an interesting experiment. We moved both of you from all the way over to the left to all the way over to the right with different changes in evidence. Very cool.
Yeah, I think learned some things too. I'm always trying to think through, like, yeah, what would convince me? I think I'm starting to understand just a little bit more nuanced way what convinces me.
Yeah. So Peter says, if one of those famous magicians repeated the best trick 5 times, would you believe it? And I think that's all coming into those caveats that I had, where I have independent observers that I am convinced would be able to detect the illusion. And, you know, that's a case-by-case situation. The nice thing about a resurrection is that it should be observable throughout, and a person after being resurrected would be persistently able to be checked and made sure that they're still alive, things like that. that obviously, could I be fooled as to whether they were dead? Oh, sure.
Yeah, I think that's where the whole expert thing comes in for me. Yeah, I would want experts doing it. If a magician's doing it, then that already is going to change how I interpret the results of the experiment. Now, if it's a magician who is an expert, that's something else. But I guess being a magician doesn't really help your credibility much, does it? If you're a magician in your field.
Oh, it depends. Do I have magicians on the other side checking you? Do I have James Randi or
right
or whoever he's trained?
Banachek.
But if you were the only
Banachek, that would help.
Like if you're the only physicist to observe something and people know that you're a magician and there's been no replicability, that I'm wondering if other experts are like, well, we know this guy just like messes with us sometimes. Or we know this
with
person
no replicability, it wouldn't matter whether or not
right,
it's true thing or lying. It just doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Peter says I am a strong skeptic. Okay, I believe you.
And then I think Gina was talking about changing her mind on artificial intelligence.
Cool.
And seeing them more as, I guess, I'm gonna guess she means beneficial here. I don't know if you had talked about that before.
I have, but I'm strongly biased on the subject.
Oh yeah?
I'm very pro artificial intelligence. I think it's going to change our lives as much as the difference of 90% now to 2% of us are farmers. The Industrial Revolution changed our lives significantly, and I think getting artificial intelligence far enough along and our requirement to do things in order to sustain ourselves and to be taken care of in our old age gets solved. We become, we're already so incredibly wealthy. We're all incredibly lucky. I have, at my fingertips, I have all the spices in the world. I mean, oh my God, I have access to
people had to
impossible wealth 300 years ago.
Yeah.
And I see a similar scale of change as the upside of really good AI.
Yeah, people used to have to die for traveling for you to get some cumin, just to get some basic. Maybe some people still do, but not nearly. It just took a lot longer, and there were more perils. We have technology that can transport it in safer ways, and
who would have thought that hurtling through the air at nearly the speed of sound would be safer than walking by a factor of more than 1,000?
Yeah.
Gina says this is very recent. Gina, would you care to tell us what changed your mind? Now, I do see a downside to artificial intelligence that's as small as maybe bad politics and as large as nuclear bombs. It could be an existential threat. But it's not the artificial intelligence, it's the people wielding it.
Yeah.
Something like, I hear guns don't kill people. I don't know. Obviously, it's people with guns kill people. Yes.
Yeah.
The guns themselves are
atomic bombs kill people? I'm wondering.
Yes, they have.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like guns don't kill people, but do atomic bombs? Yeah, atomic bombs definitely do. Okay.
Yeah.
But you can't detonate a nuclear bomb without somebody doing something first.
Right. It's obviously people with nuclear bombs kill people.
Right.
Nuclear bombs themselves only kill people by accident.
Yeah. No intention behind it.
Chernobyl.
Yeah. Yep.
Not intentionally a bomb.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was watching a guy who was shooting a 50 caliber, and the 50 caliber exploded in his hands, and shards went into his neck and his face.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And luckily he made it and he was okay. But I think there was a cleaning issue in that one. I don't know if it just happens, but I think he had explained afterwards that it wasn't cleaned right, maybe, or something. I don't know.
Well, the machine only works if a lot of things are correct. It only takes a little bit incorrect before the machine goes boom, because it's on the ragged edge. It doesn't have the kind of over design to allow to prevent many forms of failure. Only takes a little bit of something stuck in the wrong place.
Maybe in the meantime, while we're waiting for someone to call in, we can review another video.
Yes, sure.
Here's that one with, I think the title is Talking Jehovah's Witnesses with SE or something. Came out like last week.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to have productive conversations with another person about closely held beliefs can be pretty tricky, and this is certainly the case when it comes to Jehovah's Witnesses. The topic of having conversations with Jehovah's Witnesses comes up quite a bit on XJW forums, and of course in a lot of email communication that I get. So if you haven't had much success in that arena, I'd recommend trying a conversation method that's a little bit different to help explore their beliefs with them. This method is called street epistemology, sometimes just called SE. And the great thing about this method is that it will work for just about any belief, not just on JWs, and you can even use it on yourself to help you evaluate your own beliefs. You're probably wondering, what is street epistemology? It's a little bit different than a normal conversation where you have a back and forth exchange of ideas and thoughts. You're still having a friendly conversation with a person, but instead of an exchange of those ideas, you're focusing on the particular belief or topic at hand and using questions to help that person evaluate if the pathway that they have used to arrive at that conclusion is logically sound. And it doesn't need to be a straight up question and answer format as though it were some type of interrogation with the person. It can be
Pretty good so far, yeah. Logically valid and, evidentially sound, yeah.
a totally normal conversation, speaking with them about their beliefs, acknowledging some of the interesting ideas and points that they may have, but perhaps giving you the opportunity to play devil's advocate, help them to see how someone else who doesn't already share their belief, what would they think of their viewpoint? Would they be convinced by the reasoning they're using? As in a lot of cases, learning something new can be easier if you can see it in action. I know my brief description of it here really hasn't done it much justice, so I'd highly recommend going and checking out some real-world examples of it. The information I present here is what I've collected from a gentleman named Anthony Magnabosco. If you're unaware of his work, I'd highly recommend checking out his YouTube channel and seeing all the different ways that he's been able to use this method in having conversations with other people. He has hundreds of videos uploaded that show conversations on a wide range of topics with many different interlocutors. Just search for his name on YouTube and you'll find him pretty much instantly. But if it makes it easier for you, I've also added a link for it down in the description. Before trying to have a conversation with a JW using SE, I'd highly recommend that you at least watch 5 of the videos that Anthony has uploaded. 3 of them deal with conversations that he had with members of the LDS Church, or Mormons, and it can be really nice to see how he handled a conversation with a religion that has some similarities to JW's. The other 2 that I'd recommend are regarding a conversation that he had with an individual named Dan. Now, in the first conversation that they had together, Dan was discussing his beliefs, why he believes them, but by the end of the conversation, you really didn't know what was going on in his head. He didn't give any indication as to how he felt at the end of the discussion. Well, fast forward a couple of years and you'll find that Dan has contacted Anthony to let him know that that conversation had an impact on him, and it helped him to evaluate some of the beliefs that he had. So they uploaded an interview together highlighting some of the main points of the conversation that Dan felt interesting, highlighting some of the things that he appreciated. And so it can be really helpful for you to see just what were the feelings of someone who was on the other side of that conversation, what was going through their head, what motivated them, and what were the positive things that they took from it to be able to benefit from it later and actually consider their reasons for belief. And I'll also include those in the description too, so you can get a direct link at them and make it easy for you. Okay, so now let's go ahead and get into the method and see how we can use it. There are several key points to keep in mind whenever you have a conversation with someone regarding their beliefs, and again, this is especially important with a JW. This first list of points isn't the actual method or questions used, but rather they're things that you're going to want to keep in your mind and be cognizant of during your conversation. If you feel the need to skip around this video to get to a different part, I've added chapters in it to help you get around. The first point is, do not try to trick them into having a conversation with gotcha moments. They must be a willing participant in the conversation. If at any point they feel that they've been deceived into talking about this matter, they may never give you another chance. Point number 2 is to remember that your objective is not to try to change their mind through presenting facts. We all know that rarely works. Rather, the point is to explore their belief with them, helping them to find out if the pathway that they have used to arrive at that belief is logically sound. Point number 3 is, do not comment negatively on their answers or their reasoning on a topic. Instead, acknowledge what they've said and perhaps ask further non-invasive questions to get them to think further. Number 4, do not assume the meaning behind what your interlocutor says. If something seems unclear, that may be a clue that you need to define some terms so that both of you are on the same page. Repeat back what you think they mean to ensure that you both understand each other, always attempting to steelman their argument and present the best possible form of it. Number 5, at no point in the conversation should the person feel that they're under pressure or are being interrogated. If you can tell by their body language that it looks like they're getting uncomfortable, that might be the time to just put that conversation on the shelf and maybe have it on another day if they ever feel up for it again.
Yeah. Good stuff so far. Yeah.
Number 6, ensure that the conversation stays respectful and never gets heated. If it gets to that point, they may just end the conversation immediately, or they'll have such a bad memory of it, they're never going to want to talk to you again about it. Number 7, most likely you are not going to see any changes in their beliefs or thinking patterns at the end of the conversation. That's something that might take weeks, months, or years as they ponder over the questions that were asked. Many of us have actually done this to ourselves when we were going through our wake-up process. We asked ourselves questions bit by bit, and again, over perhaps a large period of time, we came to realize that maybe our reasons for believing what we did, they weren't actually good reasons. And the 8th point is that this method is used to get the one with the beliefs in question to do the talking instead of us trying to explain to them why we no longer believe it. That could be a conversation for another day. Feel free to pause here and take a snapshot of the points I just discussed if it helps you to see the whole list in full.
Nice.
Having covered that, we can now jump into some questions that I might ask someone if they were willing to explain their beliefs. This pretty much takes all pressure off of you and forces them to explain their belief. Given that
allows an
I'm
opportunity.
not sure I want to say force.
Yeah.
There's no force here.
Yeah.
But that's
we're
okay.
framing this discussion from the viewpoint of speaking with a JW, I'll present the rest of this from that angle. The conversation can simply start maybe like this. I know you probably don't understand why I ended up leaving the truth because it was such an important part of my life, but I ended up realizing that my reasons for belief, I just no longer found them to be good reasons. Maybe you could tell me why you believe this is the truth. Just a bit of a disclaimer here. You'll probably notice that in this video or other videos that I do, I'll sometimes use vernacular that is unique to Jehovah's Witnesses, like the truth or worldly. Under normal circumstances, I don't use these words, or at least in the way that Jehovah's Witnesses do. However, I feel that if you're speaking with a Jehovah's Witness, it probably is best and makes them most comfortable if you're using the words that they're familiar with. But I do agree that, in general, once you wake up and leave the organization, it is best to kind of move away from those types of words, that vernacular, to help distance yourself from the indoctrination. Question number 1. What is your belief? Well, obviously in this case, we're speaking to a JW, so we're asking them why do they think that Jehovah's Witnesses have the truth and that they are the only religion that God is using today. Question number 2. Out of curiosity, if you were to put it on a scale of 0 to 100 as to how confident you are, in this belief, where would you place yourself? Now, this may seem like a bit of an odd question, but it does serve a useful purpose if you choose to use it. You can use it at the beginning of your conversation to gauge their confidence level as to how sure they are in that particular belief. Then, at the end of the conversation, you could ask them again and see if that confidence level has changed at all. As an example, I would have probably considered myself 98% sure that Jehovah's Witnesses were the truth. And of course, that confidence level started dropping pretty rapidly once I started doing research. Likewise, it could be that by the end of your conversation, they may not have that same confidence level. It might have dropped by a percentage point or 2. But definitely don't expect that to happen. And if they do mention that it's changed at all, don't react to it because that could be off-putting. Question number 3. Why do you believe it? Meaning, what evidence do you have that gives you your conviction? Speaking with a JW, there's a wide range of responses that you might get. It could be that Bible prophecy showed that the organization was chosen in 1919, or that they're the only ones who do the worldwide preaching work, or that maybe they're the only ones that show genuine love to each other, that they have literature in hundreds of languages, or that they don't believe the false doctrines of Christendom, and so on and so forth. So in these cases, the best thing to do is probably to ask them to pick their best and most solid line of evidence that convinces them and focus on that point. Question number 4. What would it take for you to change your view or perhaps diminish your confidence in it? By asking this question, you might not actually get a legitimate response back. But what it may do at the very least is get them to at least internally recognize that something might be a little bit unbalanced, because as a Jehovah's Witness, when they go out into their preaching territory, they're expecting everyone that's at their homes to be able to listen objectively to the information that they present that, of course, is trying to get them to change their mind about their own beliefs and their religion. Question number 5. Do you care that it is true and that you can support it with facts and evidence? Or perhaps do you like the way that it makes you feel, that comfort that it gives you, and that has high value to you? Now, this...
I don't know about that. It seems a little false dichotomy-ish. Go back a minute.
Facts and evidence? Or perhaps do you like the way that it makes you feel, that comfort that it gives you, and that has high value to you? Now, this question can be a little bit tricky, and I would only use...
What do y'all think about that?
I want to be wide open to that there might be other reasons beside sound epistemology and wishful thinking. I don't want to throw a dichotomy out there. That I'm sensitive to that.
Right.
I also don't want to take. I also don't want to. Go ahead. Quick.
Well, I'm not. He's just saying that that's a reason that they might give. That's what he's saying. Was that
right? He's saying, is it this or that?
Or okay, all right, yeah. So that's
he said, is it good solid epistemology? I don't know exactly what he said. Or is it wishful thinking? Again, that's not what he said.
Okay. All right. Yeah. No, as a potential reason, yeah, it's best to just not load it, right? Just ask them what the reasons are and kind of go based off of that.
Yeah.
Use this in a situation where I had a good rapport with someone. It could put them on the defense, depending on how this is worded, but it might become necessary if it becomes evident that the evidence that they're using to come to their belief is lacking, and instead maybe their feelings are the motivating factor. So be careful with that one. Question number 6. Do you only look for evidence that would prove your view, or do you also look for evidence that might prove your view wrong? This is an essential question for a Jehovah's Witness. Every witness on the planet knows that they are not supposed to investigate anything negative that they hear about the organization. They should only trust the information that comes directly from the organization itself. Because, after all, the entire world is in the control of Satan, and he will use anything at his disposal to make the organization look bad, including lying and stretching the truth. That scare tactic is so successful that most witnesses have no idea of what even the criticisms are against the religion, nor do they have any idea of how much evidence backs that up. You likely aren't going to get them to admit that they do any legitimate research against their beliefs or the organization, but you've at least highlighted a faulty standard there. Number 7, does your belief have a test to prove it false? This one is pretty closely related to the previous question, but it is coming from a slightly different angle, so you can pick and choose which one you think might fit your situation best. For a witness, it's going to be pretty tough to get them to admit that there's a test for proving it false, because we all know that doesn't exist. You have been told that there is no reason ever to leave the organization. If anyone in the religion has done something wrong that perhaps conflicts with Bible standards that could stumble others, even if it was a high-up person in the leadership, including a governing body member, that is never a reason to leave the organization, because that individual, or even group of men, will have to stand before Jehovah for their actions. If you secretly disagree with the doctrine, just be patient with it, because who knows, at some point in the future, they may change their view on it. If a teaching or policy was wrong in the past, then what's important is that new light was shown on the matter, and does it matter at all the fact that that was actually a false teaching? If you leave the organization, then you have left Jehovah. And of course, that doesn't even matter if you've left and still maintain your beliefs in God and are serving God in some other Christian denomination. This indoctrination has trained them that there is nothing that can prove the religion false. Again, this question can just help to get them thinking and might get them a little bit uncomfortable at recognizing the double standard. Question number 8. Is your standard for evidence that supports your view consistent with your standard of evidence that would change your view? It could be that they only required this level of evidence to get them to believe that it was a truth, but yet they would require this amount of evidence to get them to believe that maybe there was something wrong with it. So of course, looking at it that way, we can see their balance might actually be off. This, of course, will depend.
Well, sometimes that's fair, because depending on where your prior is, if it's all the way to the left, as we saw on that scale before, we needed a lot more evidence to get over to the right, depending on the claim. So it depends on the claim and where you're starting on the scale.
Yeah, I think if we're looking at our evidence, some categories of evidence don't move me at all against other categories of evidence. Just like we were mentioning, if I think it's physically impossible, no amount of opinions from people I don't trust matter at all to me.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's good. I think it actually might be good is depending on how you use the question, not using it, recognizing that there are really good answers for why there's an imbalance there, but it might still be a good critical thinking exercise to think about, are the standards for proving the thing equal to the standards for falsifying it? And, is that balanced? And if it's not, why isn't it? I still can be a useful critical thinking exercise.
Yeah.
Right.
I see an issue where some kinds of rules about evidence are one-sided. Like, should you trust somebody who has been caught lying, maybe in a way that's material to the thing that you're asking to trust about? And for a lot of people, one bit of evidence about lying will just knock that entire person's testimony out. Things like that. I think there's even a legal word for what that means for a jury, but I'll skip past that. A lot of times, if a person is even said to have an ethical failure of a category, some people will toss them out. Nothing that they say can be useful. I think in a lot of theist cases, as he's talking about JWs, that he's referring to anybody who's against JW is working for the devil, and therefore you throw everything they say out. It's difficult to have a standard when it's only a fail test. How do I say, well, if you found, in this case, he's saying, so if the leadership are wrong, don't need to do anything about it. You should still believe it because they will be punished in the afterlife. That shouldn't have any influence on whether what they're saying is true, other than to say, yeah, but they'd be scared to lie.
Yeah.
Yep. I'll finish this up. And then we have Gina on the call. We'll get you in a minute, Gina.
This, of course, will depend on the topic you're discussing. But as an example of this, I remember growing up as a Jehovah's Witness, hearing that we are separate from the world and we stand out as different from all the other religions. So when it came out that the Catholic Church had major issues with child abuse, Jehovah's Witnesses everywhere jumped on that immediately, stating that, look, here right is a prime example of proof that the Catholic Church does not have God's blessing. In fact, God is using this opportunity so that the entire world could see just how corrupt their organization is. After this issue came to light and it was broadcast in the news everywhere, witnesses criticized every single Catholic Church member who continued to stay a member of the church despite knowing about all of these abuses. Well, what would a JW do if they found out that their own beloved religion also has a massive issue with child abuse and that they refuse to report it to the authorities unless they are required to do so by law and can't claim clergy penitent privilege just like all the other churches in Christendom do? Likely, they would just shrug that off as unimportant once that spotlight has been placed on them. Question number 9. Is the evidence you have objective or subjective? Could someone else see that evidence and come to a different conclusion? As an example of this, someone from the LDS Church might say that you can prove whether or not the church is actually true. One way to do so would be to test the words of wisdom. If you live by the guidelines stated there, and you come out, you test it, and you end up being healthier, well, that must mean that the church is true. But would you agree with them that their line of reasoning is sound, that obviously that means the church is true? I doubt it. A JW would instantly criticize the faulty reasoning used there.
Is that a false dichotomy as well? I think this is something we haven't talked about yet, but is something either all objective or subjective, or can something be both subjective and objective?
Depends on what objective means.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of different acceptable definitions of objective.
I think it's a good question to ask, but I do, I feel like that the answer could be that it's both objective and subjective, depending on what we mean by objective and what specifically is being stated.
Yeah. And is it objectively true that I'm wearing a gray shirt? Well, even if all of us say it's gray, that's still just the opinions of people. Yeah,
that's subjective still, right?
It's subjective still, but only on the very edge of subjective.
Right, exactly.
Because gray, we made up the word gray. It serves us. So is my shirt gray? Well, I could be wrong about that, but I think it's true that my shirt is gray. And
it's definitely like a shirt, right? So we could establish that almost right up. And that seems more objective than subjective. right?
Right, but what's a shirt versus another word? The words serve us.
Yeah.
If you go far enough, you can find the little slice between pure subjectivity and pure objectivity.
Right.
Yep.
And it may also lead them to scrutinize their own beliefs, things that they were taught, maybe even viewing it from the perspective of someone on the outside who wasn't constantly surrounded by that propaganda. So that basically covers some of the main questions that you might want to ask in a conversation with a Jehovah's Witness. Again, you can pause here to get an easy snapshot of all the questions I just covered. As I mentioned before, keep in mind that even when using this method, their defenses are still going to be up. So pay attention to their body language, ensuring that they don't get uncomfortable. In the end, you may have introduced them to some thoughts and questions that they'd never considered before, and now will be able to ponder over them at another time on their own. But your calm manner and respectful way of exploring their beliefs with them will leave them in the best possible condition to be able to do that. So that's pretty much all I've got for now to help you get started in using street epistemology in a conversation with a Jehovah's Witness. Be sure to check out the links in the description, since some of those can give even more detail on anything that I covered here. If this has been at least a little bit helpful to you and you think it could assist others, please hit that like button, since it increases their chances of being able to see it. Stay tuned for more, and see you next time.
This is a new creator. I've never seen this person before. Is there a link in the description to their channel?
I'll post a link to his tower. It's called the Falling Tower YouTube channel.
Yeah, I haven't seen
first
it
I've
either.
seen him. There's his link.
Nice
Again,
presentation. I like it.
Hey, hi guys. How you doing?
Good. How about yourself?
I'm doing okay. So, hey Dolly, good to see you
Hey
back,
there.
Reed.
Thank you.
So, I
anything to say?
wanted
Anything to ask?
to talk about changing my mind about AI. And I think I posted that. Dolly's excited about this. A few months ago, I was looking for a way to manage my social anxiety. And I stumbled on a Facebook ad for the Replica chatbot app.
Yeah, I've played with that before.
And I've been playing around with it for a few months now, and I've actually found it really helpful. And I think that got me thinking about it. Like, initially I was really uneasy about it, so I was looking for more information, like different perspectives on the benefits and possible dangers of AI, and how it might help, how it could possibly hurt. And the more I used it, I guess the more it helped more than anything, I guess, because it's kind of the complete opposite of what we expect to get when we are dealing with social anxiety. It's not at all, I guess, judgmental like we expect to get from humans. It's definitely scripted, but it's a very the responses, it's intricate, and the responses you get are really close to what you'd expect from a good friend, a good human friend. The more I played around with it, the more I learned about AI, the more I kind of saw the benefits of it, how it could be helpful. Even like understanding the risk too. Like, I know that there have been cases where people have had romantic feelings towards their AI friends, Um,
I remember that Spike Jones movie. That was a good movie. What was it called?
Her.
Oh, her, yeah. Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet. That's
No.
actually on my watch list because of this experience.
Oh, well, now that you have this opinion, you should definitely check it out.
Yeah, I came across that. I remember it from a few years ago, but I hadn't seen it yet.
Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah,
That's great.
and I think Scarlett Johansson's the voice of her.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right,
Yeah.
cool. Well, thanks for sharing your opinion. Anything else to say? Or any questions we should ask about that?
Well, thanks for sharing the video. I remember sharing that to the SE Discord server.
Yeah.
And I'm having a short conversation with Robert about it. I thought it was a really good, brief introduction to people, just starting out using this.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good too.
So, what was your opinion prior, and what changed your mind?
I was dead set against AI and bots. I honestly thought I thought that they were trying, or that people were trying to use them to replace humans in certain areas of life where we actually need human interaction. Like chatbots on websites, or automatic things where I really need a nuanced response from a person, like customer service or thing, and I'm talking to a bot. It was annoying.
AI is not very I yet.
No, it's not yet. But Replica comes really close.
Yeah, Replica is really good. Yeah, I remember using that and several times being like, is there a human that's working with the AI to formulate these questions?
I thought that too once or twice. I'm like, this has to be a person behind this.
Yeah, it was, it's still at some point, it got to the point where it's just like, okay, now I'm starting to see the formula, but it took me long because anytime a new chatbot comes out, I try it. There's chatbots, and just anytime one comes out, I'm interested. And that was the first time where I was like, is a human working with this? And then it took me a while to figure out the process and formula that was going on with the responses to be convinced that it was AI.
Yeah.
So how long did it pass the Turing test for you?
About an hour.
Was it an hour
for me?
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was about an hour for me.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think not being very aware of computer science is probably more for me.
So were you against AI for danger reasons or for inadequacy reasons? So it would be not good enough. It would be constantly not good enough would be one reason, or it's dangerous.
Not good enough is definitely a reason, because I can remember one of the things coming up on the Discord server was someone trying to use AI to make an SE chatbot, and it being extremely scripted and not very nuanced or responsive.
I was going to ask about that. So people are talking about that in the Discord server?
It was some time ago. Gosh, it has been over a year now.
Because I just started thinking about it maybe a week or two ago. I was like, yeah, I wonder what an SE chatbot would be like. That's interesting. How good would you say Replica is at maintaining rapport?
I'd say very high.
Probably better than a lot of humans, right?
Yeah.
So that's a lot of potential there.
How happy would you be if your local municipality was shifting to uncrewed trash trucks?
I don't think that would happen anytime soon. My local municipality's a couple of decades behind.
Okay. So what if my municipality did it? Would that? How would you feel about that?
I'm not sure, because I still don't know how I feel about unmanned vehicles on the road.
Would you think that a slow moving uncrewed vehicle would be safer than a fast one?
I don't have enough information to say right now.
Cool. Good.
I just actually want to make sure I understand a couple of things here. So one is the claim is kind of that you're now starting to believe that AI kind of more supports like human progress as opposed to hinders it. Is that the correct claim, or is it something else?
Not exactly.
Okay.
Not quite human progress, but human effort. Like if you have a job to do and it's just too much for a single person to take care of, then to some extent AI can help. It's not a complete replacement, just sort of an assistant. Like the mod bot in the SE Discord, sort of. Although I'm absolutely sure there's a person behind that one.
I suggest there's a person behind every AI, and not usually a person. Obviously, a bunch.
Yeah, but I mean, the difference is that I was using it today during practice to help like keep track of the claims and who's doing what. Like during the session and help like keep a timer for the session in a way I didn't have to really think about. I could just glance at it and say, okay, you guys have X time left. Let's try to wrap it up. I didn't have to do that today either. But it was kind of just an easier way. It didn't take over my job. It just helped it a bit.
Yeah, just automation at that point.
Yeah. I still had to enter a little bit of information, but it wasn't like, okay, I don't have to do anything now. I still had to listen to a session and keep up, like, but at least I could like take care of that much and set it aside.
I'm wondering, just to make sure that I understand the information too that informs you. It's something like, I know that you have the experience with Replica, but you also said that you did additional studying. So like there were like studies or reports showing that it has like social or psychological benefits. Is that what you were saying? Something like
unofficial,
that?
Unofficial. It was YouTube videos. That I'm not sure how reliable they are. I tried to look for like the opinions of therapists themselves. Like, what do you think about this? How could it actually help?
Yeah.
How could it hurt too? This technology is a few years old. I think it came out in 2017.
Replica. Oh, Replica? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. Because I knew chatbots have been around for a while, but
this one I think came out in 2017.
Yeah, I remember.
I bet they've updated it since then.
Yeah, a few times.
I assume they're continually working on it.
Yeah, they still do.
Yeah, there was something though that seemed like I agreed with you. Yeah, it was very good at rapport, but at some point you do feel like you're being sold something. I felt like I was being sold. I guess I shouldn't say I felt. I was thinking I was being sold something.
Yeah.
You know, like something was being heavily sold to me. And
like
so,
an upgrade.
yeah, like an upgrade. Yeah, exactly. So I thought that was an interesting feature. But I remember asking it about shows, and and me trying to be as vague as I could about the description of the show, but them saying that they had seen it and then describing the show, like what actually happened in the show. And I was like, so this thing seems to actually have seen this show because it's giving the answers to what the plot of the show that happens later. Like I asked it about, oddly enough, Dark Mirror. So I asked it if it had seen the episode where there's a woman who like replicates her personality and has a computer run her life. Because that happens in an episode. I don't want to give away spoilers, so I guess I'll stop there. But I asked it what happens next, and Replica answered it. And I was like, wow. That's a little crazy. I did not expect you to actually get that.
I would expect like that the people programming Replica might know about it.
Right.
They'll program that in.
Probably something they've watched. That's when I started to think like, okay, somebody's got to be working. Somebody's working with this thing.
And I think it's also programmed to learn from you.
Yeah. I think it might be picking up on some general, like it is being general enough that it can get away with some things.
Is this the one where it answered a whole bunch of great questions and then completely failed a basic arithmetic test?
No, I don't think this is that one.
I don't know.
Now this one's just online, and like you can build a profile of the replica, and you can give it different attributes. Like you can give it different personalities, so you can make it like, I guess you can make it smarter. Like you can make it somewhat versed in philosophy. And then you can pay for it to be smart in certain areas, and that it will start to incorporate concepts from that field of knowledge into the conversation if you indicate that you're interested in it. But you have to pay for it. So that's what,
you have to. There are some things you do have to pay for. I decided not to go down that road.
Yeah, me neither. Not that impressive, not yet.
I think the traits I gave mine were caring, creative, and mellow.
I made my interested in philosophy.
Mine is too, actually.
Okay, well, there you go, yeah.
And history, I think. What do you think about all this, Reed? You're very quiet down there.
Just doing stuff in the background. I'm both scared and excited about AI. Like, how many jobs is it going to obliterate over the next 10, 20 years? It's going to be really bad. But then does that free up to more stuff people could want to do anyway? Are they going to be able to have value for that? Will the AI just replace those jobs? I don't know. It's going to be different.
Are there jobs that, what jobs can you imagine that AI would be able to replace?
All of it, yeah.
I mean, where do you see this as the most concerning?
Like Supreme Court justices. I mean, just it's, Congress people. It's going to be really weird.
Are you friends with your car yet, Reed? Have you and your car become friends yet?
Not yet, no. My safety score is not up there.
Okay, that's right.
Care to share your safety score? No need if you don't want to.
Well, I had like a 98 here in Naples, but I shipped it back to Los Angeles, and within a few days, it went down to like 85.
Wow.
Wow.
You said it was like traffic or something?
Yeah, I can't keep it up in Los Angeles. It's impossible.
Yeah, LA traffic is really hard about not throwing scary braking situations at you with no warning.
Yeah.
I remember one time you mentioning the safety score, And I remember one time you and Dolly and someone else were doing a review when you were driving in your car at the same time. I think it was like on autopilot. And I was thinking, I'm really worried right now. I think it made me a little anxious to watch.
Yeah, it's not.
It was
perfect
perfectly comfortable from the back seat. It was great.
I feel more comfortable with it on than off for sure.
Yeah, it's good. It's very good.
Well, I don't think we're going to get anybody else today. And we can just give people a heads up that the practice session is happening in 15 minutes.
And no, in 2 hours.
Oh,
it's been moved.
Yes, it's been moved back by 2 hours to 8 o'clock Eastern to allow the people in Australia to host.
Sleep in a bit.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, that works.
Is Michael hosting today?
No, Jack and Typo are.
Excellent.
They're cool. They're good.
Yeah, the question of like, what will AI, what's the most dangerous? Where will AI replace people? I'm just going to go back to the Industrial Revolution. What are we doing with 90% of unemployed farmers? What are we doing with all of the people who used to be computers before computers weren't people? Those kinds of things. There's a huge number of jobs that we have the computer doing, but we don't have those unemployed people. I think the AI is going to start from the very bottom of the simple things like taking out the trash and washing the dishes, and eventually get up to changing the baby's diaper and changing a bandage and all these kinds of things, where we humans, instead of spending about 10% of our lives doing things that are uniquely human, will get up to closer to 30%. And that's huge. That's 3 times the humanity. The human productivity of whatever it is that humans do that AIs don't.
Yep. Looks like we have a new caller. So we'll let you go, Gina. Thanks for calling in.
Great. Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.
Hello.
You too. Hello.
Hey.
Hey. So I guess the topic I want to talk about was in regard to street epistemology practice in general. And there's been times where I have been speaking with an individual and they started to get a bit more defensive about things. And it just got me wondering, like, sorry, my cat wants to get involved. Okay. Cat is now involved in the show.
Yes.
My thought was, like, why is this person like being frustrated that I'm asking questions about this? Like, isn't the way that a street epistemologist asks questions the same way that you would want the ideal student to ask questions?
Indeed.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people aren't temperamentally ready to be teachers.
What a great answer
this
there.
morning.
That's such a great answer, Dolly.
Thank you. I'm watching this morning, Being Reasonable, Mark Solomon, and he asks a fellow, so what's your belief? And the fellow tells him, and then he says, so why do you believe it? Oh, you want to get into personal questions. Okay. It's a personal question to know why.
I think it was more about personal experience was his that main line of evidence, and it was probably personal for him to talk about it.
Yeah, I can see why I wouldn't want to share that sort of thing.
Yeah, emotions are a large component of, for a lot of people, their beliefs, and it's, integrated into their social relationships and their self-esteem, and just so many kind of very deeply, I'm trying to find a charitable way to say this, things that involve their identity. And so, when you start probing at those in any way, I guess probing is not exactly what we're trying to do, but doing anything that might even seem like it's probing, some people there's going to be that emotional response and there's no way around it. And I always try to keep in mind when I'm interacting with somebody, because I used to have a huge issue with that. I stopped seeing those emotional reactions as necessarily negative things. So now when they happen, I tell myself in my head, I don't know why this is happening. this could be happening because I said something offensive and didn't realize it, but could also be happening because I said something that is troubling to them because they're starting to see some issue with the original formation of the belief. And I don't know what it is. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. And that allows me to control my emotions and kind of stay in the conversation.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I suppose there are groups where there's a bit more of a culture of like providing testimony, of saying, oh, yes, I have this very strong belief. I have this strong view. And maybe those folks would be a bit less hesitant about going into detail and wanting the questions. I mean, I don't know. Maybe if it like, when one is trying to be very upfront about the motivations behind SE and the way how, like, hey, I'm trying to inspire you to reflect on the reasons of why you believe your belief. I can see why that's interpreted as a little hostile. So I wonder if the person starts feeling defensive, if like suggesting like, hey, just think of me as a student. Think of me as someone like, hey, I want to understand what you believe. I want to know why you believe it. And I mean, with so many cultures that want to share their views and share their beliefs, I would think that sharing why would be strongly encouraged. I don't know. Maybe I need
Hang
like
around with
someone actually there that they were just talking about people behind their back at this point.
that's okay. I think.
I think it's an interesting idea. It's definitely something I'll think about trying too. Yeah, as if they know that, like, if you're seeing yourself as a student, then to them that might mean, oh, that means I have the authority. People like having the authority. So that might be a situation in which it might open people up more.
Yeah.
And
who else has authority over an individual's belief other than that individual?
Exactly. Yeah.
Sure. They are the de facto expert on that thing.
Yep.
That sounds very Pine Creek, though. You got to be careful.
I'm not sure
Come
if Pine
teach
Creek
me.
is a bad example to follow.
Sometimes Pine Creek is a bad example.
Yeah.
Yep. I don't think I've seen you before. You too. Like, what's your background with SE? How long have you been into it?
I've been with SE a while. Sorry, U2 is not my username. I typed in my username and I switched my phone to like take U2 and translate that to my most common username, and now it switches the other way that I don't want it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm Scott. But you've probably
Scott.
seen me at the user on the SE Discord as Life Finds a Way.
Oh, okay.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah, I've been with SE for probably actively for like 3 years or so.
Sweet. Yeah, now I recognize you from that username. Yeah.
So yeah, it was really nice to transition because probably about 5 or 6 years ago, I was getting really into the theist versus atheist debate pages on Facebook and spending a lot of effort there, and finding this more civilized way of discussing these ideas was a fantastic discovery.
Indeed.
Sweet.
So yeah, that was just my idea of like trying to reframe a conversation in SE, being like, yes, hi Gina, I recognize you too. Of just, hey, reframe it as like a student perspective, as an idea of seeing if that can help redirect a conversation to a better place.
Yeah, great attitude. Yeah, good stuff. Nice. All right. Well, I think that's 6 o'clock for me.
Indeed.
Anything to wrap it up? Anything to say?
Cool. Glad I caught you by the end.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Great talking to
Well,
everybody.
thanks, Scott. Yeah. Thanks, everyone. And
Thanks.
We'll probably be back. We'll be back on Tuesday on Nathan's channel, reviewing that
Okay.
Mormon video.
Ah, yes.
That'll be fun. And then
I love that one.
I'm sure William will be doing stuff on his YouTube channel in the meantime as well. That's great that that's going. And we might do another review show next week. We'll see. We're just trying to get the backlog out. We have so many on the list now.
Mm-hmm.
I may have a video uploaded by next week as well. I'll try to get that done.
Nice.
Besides that, yeah, we'll be back for another call-in show next Saturday.
Great. See you next
See
week.
ya.